Hey, Bob Rapp here. Just thinking about the problem of vibe coding. Vibe coding is kind of a cool thing to talk about, but when we actually think about software development, we've learned a lot in the last, say, couple hundred years about software development. And so I started in my process with the conversation that says create pre-penned and post-penned checklist manifesto style approaches to setting the right rules for vibe coding. Take all the best practices into a simple set of mnemonics for careful coding, with each letter being one key way to set up the prompt for good engineering practices, like for vibe coding, C is for complete pre-written pen, and so forth. So what I want to do is write a prompt for each letter as a poster and to begin the process of iteration. And I'm starting with ChatGPT 4.0 because it's a pretty good model to do that. So ChatGPT gives me some stuff. I'm going to go ahead and re-engineer the prompt a bit. I'm saying create a poster, but also write an app that uses this approach, right? And I kind of like how it got to the app, but honestly, I tend to prefer using Anthropic. And so in Anthropic, I basically did a series of other prompts and said, give me kind of a complete way to think about the project. So it's giving me some basic foundation, great data plus great science, great oversight equals better answers every time. It's going to be for data scientists in automotive OEM environment. You might guess uh, where those folks are. I'm going to put this in my private repository, but on GitHub because there's no data for my company here. And then it talks about sort of how we take people through a prompted behavior because I think the most important thing is how do I give you the right way to think about this so you can do it yourself in a checklist manifesto style implementation. So I said, hey, give that to me, right? With, as you can guess, I'm a big fan of Replit. I think Replit's a really fun way to play with things quickly. So I took the core documents from ChatGPT, the core documents uh, from Anthropic, from Claude. I also did a little bit of work with Devin over here, and I'm still playing with Devin because I want Devin to show the agentic architecture. Because if you don't say agentic in every presentation, they take your AI take your AI away. But it ends up with kind of an interesting thing, and I'll take you to the baking school part of this. So I said, load an example for a pre-written machine learning example, what I call actual data science versus the magic or black magic sometimes of Gen AI, and then give me a complete pre-written plan that can take me through a set of sample scenarios. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and say, load the Gen AI example. By the way, all of this was created with non-company data. This is just examples here. So it says which would be better, what's the focus, it's going to generate the prompt, and then it can take me through the prompting of each prompt right? So it actually created this for me, and it's taken me through all of the things I need to do to consider what it means to be a careful coder. Okay, by the way, this is just a beginning thing, and I think with Eric and Ian and Masa, we'll get to some much cooler stuff, but each of these comes out with a prompt, which I can then use when I say export prompts. I also now have a prompt library for a bunch of other, and this is all sample data, this is just made up. But when I look at the prompt here, I can take this whole prompt, and I'm not going to try to make you read it on a small screen, Command C, and then I can put it in say, I'm going to take it back to Chat GPT, for instance, and then I'm going to say, here's a new chat, and I'm just going to say, uh, do this. Now, by the way, this is, I'm asking Chat GPT and its thinking model to build an experiment, right, that I can iterate with. I could, by the way, be using an internal tool like Copilot or one of the things that we're trying. But what's interesting about this is now I've given really good prompting to build functions to implement that, by the way, would be the beginning of a very good, well-architected engineering project for data scientists. Okay. And what I like about this is how we teach people to fish. We're going to teach you how to prompt. We're going to teach you how to improve the prompts. And I'm going to actually say, um, now write this code and deploy to at, I'm going to say at Bob Rapp, GitHub. Okay, Bob Rapp, GitHub to share with colleagues. Okay. And now we'll do that. So, by the way, early in the ideation phase, I promise it's not perfect, but it is a good thing. So it's a very good thing, actually, to quote my favorite cook.